want to give you an update on my fundraising efforts for the Ehlers Danlos Society. As I mentioned in my previous video, May is Ehlers Danlos Syndrome Awareness Month, and I wanted to raise money to support funding for research and to help better the quality of life for people and their families living with EDS. One of the major factors that pushed me to do this fundraising was the loss of one of my fellow EDS warriors. In my original video explaining this fundraising effort, I also mentioned how losing her impacted me and how much she inspired me to live a good and full life despite my illness. So here's the update. I tracked my dislocations and major subluxations from May 6th through May 30th, so almost the whole month, and I raised $24, which I will be donating to the Ehlers Danlos Society once I put it back in the bank and it's not in $1 bills. If you're curious about which joints dislocated when and how many of them dislocated how many times, I will put up a pie chart, and that pie chart will show you the percentage of dislocations out of the 24 that I tracked. For those of my friends watching who are visually impaired, I will put a description in the description section of the video of that pie chart if you're interested in the percentages of dislocations. Now, there were more than that, but I just didn't remember to write them all down. I did the best I could. So it's a pretty good snapshot. The only dislocations that I do experience, but I don't have in my log, and I guess didn't happen this month, are my fingers and my ankles. So if you look at the pie chart, you can see that with those dislocations and the fingers and ankles, that's all of them. That's all the major joints, and every single one of them dislocates or subluxes pretty regularly. May is over, EDS Awareness Month has come and gone, but I hope that you join me next year for another campaign of donations for dislocations. Now I have 5 fun facts for you about dislocations. Fact number 1. They hurt. When bones move out of place, they're moving into a spot where something else is. So when your joint moves out of place, it can move where muscle should be, or nerves are, or other tendons should be. So when those hit each other, obviously that's painful because your body says, hey, that's not supposed to be here. Fact number 2. They don't hurt as much as a dislocation would hurt a normal person. The reason for that was explained by my geneticist like this. For a normal person to have, say, a shoulder joint dislocate, it would mean that the muscles, ligaments, tendons, everything around that joint would have to be damaged somehow in order to let that joint come out of place. So you can imagine the amount of pain that would cause if you literally have torn muscles and tendons. In people with EDS, we don't have to have anything tear in order to be dislocated. For us, our joints are already lax. The tendons, the ligaments, everything around holding the joint in place doesn't hold it in very well. So the joint just slips out. So it hurts because it's attached to other things, but it doesn't hurt in the same way that a normal person's dislocation might hurt with all of that intense trauma to get the joint out of place. Fact number 3. You might be wondering about the difference between a dislocation and a subluxation. A dislocation is when a joint comes completely out of place and needs to be manually put back into place. A subluxation, on the other hand, is when a joint in almost the same movement pops out or slightly out and back in. So sometimes in the same moment that my jaw pops out, the next movement, which is me closing my jaw, pops it back into place. That is a subluxation, or you can say that the joint has subluxed. Both of those are pretty painful, and both of them are a pretty common occurrence for most people with Ehlers Danlos syndrome. Fun fact number 4, people who have vascular Ehlers Danlos syndrome, or VEDS, often only have joint instability in their smaller joints, such as their fingers. Anyone with EDS can have loose fingers, but with vascular EDS, it is most common for those to be the only joints that are loose, and the other joints are relatively stable, unlike people with HEDS or CEDS or other forms of EDS who experience large joint dislocations. Fun fact number 5 about dislocations, particularly with EDS. Not all Ehlers Danlos syndrome patients experience frank dislocations. Some EDS patients go their whole lives without experiencing a true dislocation. And if you are one of those lucky EDS patients who does not experience frank dislocations, please let me know in the comments and let me know some of your other symptoms and your experience with the condition. And let me know if you will be joining me next year for my Donations for Dislocations campaign. I would love it if you would subscribe to my channel. Then you will easily see when I update videos. And if you click the little bell icon next to the subscribe button, you'll get notified without having to constantly check my channel. Thanks so much. See you next time.